I'm going to show you 5 different ways that you can light a can with one single light to get completely different images. So let's dive in with the first shot. This is one of my favorite types of shots. Camera's coming in, 45-degree angle onto the can, but the light is coming from behind. I'm just going to take a quick frame to start with. We're at f16, 125th of a second, and we've got pretty much pitch black. There's a bit of reflection on the can from the video lights we're using, but apart from that, it's doing absolutely nothing. So let's turn our flash on here with the trigger and get the first frame. And this is all about getting that nice dark shadow. So as this comes through here, I already know, because the light's coming from behind, there's not going to be enough light on the label. You can see here, it's not quite lit. So we've got a few options. We can go for a mirror. Let's bring this in here, and we'll use that just to bounce that light back in. And get that just on the monster and juiced just there. Let's grab a frame of that. Or we can use a reflector of some sort. So this is just a bit of polystyrene. Just going to bring this in here. And we're angling it to the light, so the light comes down, hits this, bounces back into our Monster Energy can. There's a slight issue at the bottom here where there's a dark patch, and that can easily be fixed by what we call a backplate. So we're going to come in really close, knowing that this will be blocking up some of the shot. Grab a frame, grab a main reflection frame, and then a no reflection frame. So we've got one frame for the cast shadow, we've got one frame for the weirdness going on just here, and then one frame for the overall fill. And between those 3 frames, we can create a brilliant final image with a great look. Now, without moving the can, we're going to light it completely differently. We're going to bring the light all the way back round again, and we're going to light it from the front, kind of. This is awkward. So this is now almost a reverse of the previous shot. This time the shadow is going back. We're lighting the can from the front and pushing that shadow back. A completely different vibe, but incredibly useful. And now what we can do here is control that shadow. It's a bit awkward, it's a bit short at the moment. If we want to make it longer, much like the sun, we bring it lower down. So we'll bring this down, and we'll now get one with a longer shadow. We can use this as a compositional tool. Maybe you want it to be a bit more to the side, we'll bring it a bit more to the side. And this is a really common tool at the moment for shooting. It's controlling the shadow, not getting rid of a shadow, not hiding a shadow, but choosing compositionally where that shadow will sit. And this I quite like. So for this setup here, we've changed the camera angle and the composition, and we've got a single light coming in, it's just missing this thankfully, and hitting the can, 45 degrees and 45 degrees. This is a classic portrait lighting setup. Now we've got a background in here as well, which is also being lit. Because we're 4 meters away, this background is currently sitting 1.5 stops exposure-wise behind the can. So it's giving it enough room to pop. Now when we're using one light in a background, if we want the background brighter, we bring it closer. If we want it darker, we move it further away. We can light it independently and control it through flash, but sometimes it's just as easy to control it by distance to the subject. Of course, some issues can arise. If you want it to be really bright, it has to be really close, and you might get a shadow on it. And that would be a good reason to bring in a second light, but for this here, this works great. Heavy shadows down one side, very poppy. And now we're going to move to a bit of a controversial lighting setup, which is very trendy at the moment, but a lot of photographers don't like, and there's a good reason for it, and we've got a video on that as well. But what we're going to do now is make it look like we're using on-camera flash. For the on-camera flash look, to make it look good, is to not actually make it on camera. You want it to appear like it's kind of got that vibe, but slightly different. Now I'm using a boom arm, but of course if you don't have one, you can just hold it. You can just hold it above the set. Ideally you want it to come from as close as the same position as the camera as possible. So here's my camera, here is my light, it's currently hanging over, so we're just going to loosen this off. Bring it in, there we go. Now I've got it slightly above, so we'll take a shot like this. It's going to be a little bit overexposed, I'd imagine. Tiny bit, let's lose that down a stop or so. There we go. So again, evenly lit at the front, the background's still lit, but it's slightly darker. It's a very trendy look. Now what we can do is just take this completely off here, And this is much more fashion photography lighting than it is normally food, but I'd say that we're definitely heading in that direction. We'll just hold it here, and you see that big shadow on the background? There we go. So you see a nice streak down the centre, and all we do, so it doesn't go through the M of monster, slightly offset it until we get that perfect angle. You can hand hold it. Once it's in place, you pop it on a stand. Very trendy look. And that brings us through to our last look for this, and that is using a top-down light. This is very trendy at the moment. We've done a whole video on this, just on this lighting setup, but I'm going to show you how to now do it with one light only. Okay, so the key to this one here is we've gone bare bulb because we need to light the background as well. And if we have the reflector on it, it's just too intense coming down. We get a black background. So this is just to spread that light a bit nicer. Let's get it nicely raised up. There we go. Do a quick test shot, but we'll turn the power up a bit first. And to this, we're just going, we need it brighter, put it halfway, and then we'll see how much further we need to go up. I'm assuming it's a bit more. Yeah, it's quite dark there. That's 8.4, so we're currently at 1,000 watts, or joules. And 1,000's good, there we go. Got a nice hot spot on the top of the can, the background's lit, the can's lit. It's a far simpler setup than we did in the previous video about this, but you can still get the same look. So all 5 of these setups, all 5 different looks, just with one light. I'll see you soon, bye-bye.